Medica Bazaar and CNBC TV18 present Transforming Healthcare.
With a projected growth of $372 billion in 2022, the Indian healthcare industry is definitely surging. Over the last few decades, India has made rapid advancements in the way healthcare is provided in the country. It has become one of the largest and also the fastest growing sectors in terms of employment generation and revenue. But the COVID-19 pandemic has brought into sharp focus the inadequacies and the pitfalls that plague India's healthcare system. At the same time, the pandemic has also opened up opportunities for health technology companies that can dramatically alter the healthcare landscape soon. Hello and welcome to part 3 of our series Medica Bazaar and CNBC TV18 present Transforming Healthcare. I'm Ekta Batra. In today's episode, we shine the light on the significant inefficiency, dysfunctioning and acute shortage of the healthcare delivery system and infrastructure in the healthcare sector that does not match up with the growing needs of the population, and find out if health technology companies is the answer for India. The COVID-19 pandemic has severely disrupted health systems across India, with an unprecedented and massive increase in demand for health services. It has brought the inadequacies and pitfalls of India's healthcare system to light. The oxygen crisis-led devastation which India witnessed during the second COVID surge has shown that the nation is ill-equipped to deal with a pandemic or any healthcare crisis.
There is a huge gap between the supply and demand in this country. Basically, the health infrastructure, to create the health infrastructure is too expensive. Whereas the cost of return on investment for this in health sector is pretty bad so far in this country. So this is the reason why the need of hospitals and the health infrastructure is not picking up to the pace what is needed. To some extent, the urban cluster is doing well with the number of hospitals and the availability of the beds. But as you go down into the rural sector, there is a huge supply-demand mismatch, and it's not matching for the hospitals or any other enterprise to set up hospitals there.
Indian healthcare since independence has seen different type of challenges, and currently probably the most important thing what we need to address is the healthcare delivery system has not been developed like a referral based system. We don't see a strong primary healthcare, secondary healthcare. As a result of that, the workload is maximum in the tertiary care centers, especially in the urban area. So when we have a well-established primary and secondary care, it is going to be really helpful for the Indian healthcare.
India's healthcare system has been battling various issues. This includes a lack of well-equipped medical institutes and a severe shortage of trained medical personnel, including nurses, paramedics, doctors, and primary healthcare workers. The situation remains worrisome in rural areas where almost 66% of India's population resides.
The basic problem, especially in the public sector, is a lot of pilferages happen. Accountability is not there. Accountability to the work is not there. The same thing exists even in the corporate sector also. So the only way you can bridge is to get in the right technology to make sure everyone is accountable for their job and they perform their duties in the right way.
The other thing in terms of infrastructure, it is not the brick and mortar, but the most important component is the human resource. So I'm specifically talking about the doctors, nurses, paramedicals and allied health science professionals. All of us, know there is a severe shortage of doctors. We have problems with the availability of qualified nurses. but the other very important ingredient to make a successful healthcare ecosystem is the allied health science professionals.
The growing healthcare needs in India, advanced well-equipped infrastructure, efficient and trained manpower, infrastructure to manage patient load, affordable healthcare and accessibility. Alright, time for a short break now, but we'll be back with more. Stay tuned.
Medica Bazaar and CNBC TV18 present Transforming Healthcare. Medica Bazaar and CNBC TV18 present Transforming Healthcare.
Welcome back. You're watching our special series Medica Bazaar and CNBC TV18 present Transforming Healthcare. While the disruptions and crisis caused by the second wave have brought to fore the gaps of the Indian healthcare system, it also offers a unique opportunity to transform it. But with affordability and accessibility being the two major concerns in India, rural India is facing the maximum brunt of it, as 74% of doctors in India practice in urban areas, leading to the population living in rural areas lacking even primary healthcare facilities. But with a proven history of success in major sectors, can private-public partnership be the one-stop solution for the Indian healthcare industry? Let's find out more. India's healthcare sector is defined by striking contrasts. While it offers hospitals and universities which are shining examples of progress and are globally lauded for their innovative contributions, citizens in rural and low-income areas are woefully underserved when it comes to accessing affordable quality healthcare.
India needs to create far more capacity in as far as Tier 2, Tier 3 towns are concerned. And I think the extent of healthcare development in Tier 2, Tier 3 towns is still significantly less than what it should be, really. So as a development institution, what we are trying to do is to focus on a segment of population which needs more access to healthcare. And we have said to ourselves, a decent portion of our healthcare services where we invest in should support those population earning less than a certain threshold, dollar per day.
Healthcare cost is considered to be one of the lowest globally. However, our population, because of the consumerism, because of their ability to purchase healthcare, it is considered expensive in certain cases. But if you look at the Indian healthcare provides the first world healthcare quality at the third world's cost. So if we really need to look into the cost aspect of it, we need to look at some process development. We can bring efficiency within the healthcare delivery mechanism.
The rural and urban populations of India have diametrically opposite experiences with healthcare. About 75% of healthcare infrastructure can be found in the urban areas where almost 27% of the Indian population resides, which essentially means that 73% of the population living in rural areas lacks even primary healthcare facilities.
2/3 of our population is part of semi-urban or rural areas, and about 500 million plus population essentially forms part of entire rural network in the country. If we are thinking of accessibility of healthcare to those populations, I think it is important that we need to really think and deep dive and understand the real on-ground challenges. The challenge for primary care, secondary care is something which cannot be dispensed with. So, in terms of looking at the present infrastructure capability, I think there's a lot which is needed right now in terms of patient to care kind of a ratio, and in terms of patient to doctor kind of a ratio. So all of this constitutes as a major gap in the overall healthcare delivery system.
For a very long period of time in this country, healthcare was not seen as a priority sector. which has led to a massive underdeployment of public capital behind creation of healthcare infrastructure. To a very large extent, that has also led to India being undersupplied in terms of the total number of beds that we have as healthcare infrastructure in this country, almost to the tune of about 1 million beds for the kind of population that we have, which is 1.3 billion people. We are undersupplied in healthcare infrastructure. We are undersupplied in terms of healthcare manpower, whether it is clinicians, doctors, nurses, paramedical staff. So we have literally an undersupply on the infrastructure side and on the talent side, which has then translated itself around congregation of healthcare more towards the larger metros of the country. And we are therefore facing a massive shortage in the tier 2, tier 3 cities across the country.
Affordability and accessibility are two major concerns in India. To this effect, several state governments and the central government have put in place various insurance schemes. In 2018, the centre also rolled out the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, a health insurance scheme that provides free access to healthcare to 50 crore economically vulnerable Indians.
When the Government of India announced Ayushman Bharat, or what we popularly know as PMJAY scheme, or universal healthcare coverage for all Indians, the primary objective for this scheme was to provide affordable healthcare to all. India had always been challenged in terms of looking at medical insurance penetration. The medical insurance cost was out-of-pocket expense. There was no government-run medical insurance incentive or scheme. The private insurers were essentially trying to penetrate the market, but the penetration was suboptimal. I think the schemes like Ayushman Bharat is a great enabler in our country. With a country of 1.4 billion population, when more than 50 to 60 crores of our fellow Indians stay in rural areas, many of them are below poverty line, they cannot afford healthcare. So I think Ayushman Bharat is a great enabler for our country.
As far as healthcare in the country is concerned, over the last 1 decade, we have something like $4 billion of private equity investments which have happened, out of which 1/3 have been in creation of new assets. So the sum and substance is we still need a lot more healthcare infrastructure in the country, as the bed per the bed per patient or population is still considerably low than what it is in the global standards, really. Second point is, I think, as far as healthcare is concerned, it needs patient investors. Healthcare is not something because hospitals take time to mature. So we need patient investors, and development institutions like CDC, have played a critical role in the past in terms of providing the patient capital as far as healthcare is concerned.
Ayushman Bharat, we have not only the services being delivered by public sector hospitals, but an equal number of private sector hospitals are also partnering with us. So, for example, we have about 24,000 hospitals empaneled in Ayushman Bharat. 50% of that are in the private sector. Similarly, the newly started, initiative, which the Honorable Prime Minister rolled it out on 27th of September last year, that the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission, that also seeks to leverage the technology for delivery of health services in this country.
The public-private partnership, or the PPP model in India, has seen success in other areas such as infrastructure, energy, education, urban development, tourism and more. But can it be the panacea to India's healthcare challenges?
Public-private partnership is a very critical part of how we try and develop healthcare, particularly in the tier 2, tier 3 towns, as I mentioned, which have lower access to healthcare. The government has done an extremely commendable job in terms of healthcare diagnostics, which has played a very pivotal role in the PPP. We have to replicate that model into the other areas of healthcare, particularly the healthcare delivery. And I think this model is extremely, is something where we'll be in a position to try and replicate it across the value chain as far as healthcare is concerned.
There is a very robust ecosystem of entrepreneurs and companies which are bringing new ideas. Then they need mentorship to get them off the ground along with money, get them to the venture stage where we are now beginning to see different paradigms. To me, the most exciting phases of venture right now involve point of care testing, getting healthcare to the patient regardless of how far away they live from cities, using health analytics to start to decipher where to put money in. And lastly, to my mind, it's going to be all about figuring how do we get to proper healthcare financing.
Let us realize that the health services delivery in India is not exclusively by the government. It is also not exclusively by the private sector, and therefore both are, in a way partnering in the process of health services delivery. Now, we certainly would like to incorporate and to formalize that partnership in a much more meaningful manner so that both these sectors play a complementary role to each other.
If we have to create a win-win formula over here of the public side and the private side coming together, then we need to create contracts which are equivocal, which actually provide the benefits on both the sides, and it makes it viable for the private sector to actually continuously work with the public side, which I think is the need of the hour. Because when you look at the healthcare scenario the way it is in the country today, and given that the pandemic has actually demonstrated that we need to do a lot more, this cannot be done through a one-sided approach. This has to be a combined effort, particularly if we have to crunch decades of time.
On that note, it's time for a short break, but stay tuned. We have a lot more on the other side.
Medica Bazaar and CNBC TV 18 present Transforming Healthcare. Medica Bazaar and CNBC TV 18 present Transforming Healthcare.
Welcome back. You're watching our special series. Medica Bazaar and CNBC TV 18 present Transforming Healthcare. Digital health technology is a pivotal pillar in delivering value-based care across healthcare in India. Adaptive intelligent solutions can help lower the barriers between hospitals and patients, particularly in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Can new age digital platforms help the industry on improving accessibility and affordability in Indian healthcare?
New age startups, essentially startups which have largely contributed to doctor-to-patient kind of consultation areas or remote consulting areas, what we talk about where doctor's access is not possible, I think they are doing fantastic jobs in terms of bridging the gaps in India. Apart from that, any medicine deliveries, kind of e-pharmacy companies are playing a great role in terms of making medicines available or accessible to places where you don't have medicine shops in India. We are largely represented by medicine shops in India, but there are at least 30% to 40% of our entire healthcare, entire geographical coverage which has not been well represented in terms of availability of medicine in our country. So I think that itself is a major opportunity for any of the pharmacy companies to look at. Apart from that, delivery or medical care, typically primary care, secondary care has largely been a bigger gap and a wider gap for rural population and semi-urban population. So any healthcare accessibility or any digital startups which thinks of providing these kind of services in form of maybe bridging the gaps between availability of medical care through a digital intervention can be great enabler for healthcare accessibility in rural and semi-urban areas.
Founded in 2014, Mumbai-based Medica Bazaar is using the power of technology to act as a trusted and reliable player in helping India with better healthcare in terms of accessibility, availability, affordability, and awareness.
From availability point of view, we are solving a great problem because we are providing a large catalog to anyone who's trying to access any kind of medical supplies, and we are making sure that the delivery is taken care of, the time timely delivery is taken care of, and that is what we are trying to bridge the gap between urban, kind of a medical care network to rural or a semi-urban medical care network. In terms of affordability, yes, we are very competitive. We cut down the clutter of intermediaries in order to make the product directly available from OEMs to the end customer. We have actually given access to so much of medical companies to so many customers, and we are also working closely in Make in India, effort with 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐧𝐬𝐿 program, which essentially entails a platform for all domestic or indigenous innovators and manufacturers to access that platform and look at a larger opportunity into customer network.
With that, it's time to wrap up this episode of Medica Bazaar and CNBC TV18 present Transforming Healthcare. From all of us here at CNBC TV18, goodbye and many thanks for watching.
Medica Bazaar and CNBC TV18 present Transforming Healthcare. Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.